I think I speak for everybody when I say this, but the Cali weather experience is a little bit oversold. I have to say that. I was expecting 12 months of sunshine and warm shores I could surf on, and all I got is hurricanes and earthquakes that might be induced by said hurricanes. And I guess that kind of ties into what I'm talking about in this video today. Talking about a little bit of road trip I took out to Lake Manly in Death Valley. In case you've been living underneath a rock for the last 6 months, we basically had a massive hurricane pass through the SoCal area, dump a whole bunch of rainwater into the area, and now we have a temporary lake in Death Valley, Lake Manly. So, fun fact, it was actually it had like way mightier origins. It was actually once, I guess you could say, an inland sea, so I guess you call it the Sea of Manly or whatever it is. But basically, if you drive into Death Valley and see Badwater Basin, you're basically standing in what was once the bedrock of an ancient inland sea. So pretty crazy to see that, you know, for myself too, like pretty crazy to see like an area I was walking around less than a year ago, completely flat and arid, be inundated by basically 2 feet of water everywhere you look. So it was a pretty cool and interesting location that my friend Nico and I, you know, kind of checked out, and we wanted to do some shoots before the lake inevitably dried up as we go more and more into the warmer seasons of spring and summer. Basically, the lake's rapidly evaporating as time passes. Honestly, it was a crazy sight to see a site that's usually, you know, basically perpetually arid, the ground's cracked and such, to see it inundated by basically water everywhere you go. So, you know, a year ago, if you told me, I would have driven out there and seen a whole bunch of people driving with kayaks, hauling into kayaks into the park. I probably would have told you to lay off the Dune Sigma grind edits on TikTok. You know, you're not gonna bring water back to the desert, but Mother Nature brought water back to the desert. So we basically used that as the backdrop for our two ideas. So my friend Nico and I, we basically drove out there and kind of did like a Muay Thai shoot. We're both like martial artists and do like Muay Thai. So we kind of figured like, you know, like maybe we just use it, kind of have like a cool little backdrop to use for our photos. And then basically the second one was a little bit more like fashion influenced. So basically using like Blue Hour to kind of serve as like a cool backdrop and see if we can kind of play around with different ideas here and there. So gear wise, in terms of say like lighting, I was using mostly natural lighting, but also using some flash, basically just because like the sunset as it was going behind the mountains, as you can see in some of the video clips. Basically it was serving as like one big massive backlight, but I also want to have some basically flash, you know, hitting Nico from the front to make sure that they're kind of basically illuminated basically from the front, to make sure that you know, we're not having any like crazy shadows going on and stuff. And then as it proceeded into blue hour, I was using more of a flash to basically you know, provide some more illumination so that the pictures weren't going, you know, like too dark, and I could actually, you know, see the subject as well too. Made use a lot of with my 85mm 1.4. It's like a Rokinon lens, manual focus, manual aperture. Originally bought for Astra for some weird reason. I think I want to do like some kind of telephoto type of concept, but it's been getting a lot of attention, basically just being used for portraits. So I've been liking that a lot, and I figured why not just do that. So, you know, I had like these galoshes on, so I could just hop around the little tidal pools we had going on in the location. And luckily for me, I'm a part of Team Long Femur, so I was basically almost like a flamingo hopping around and stuff, you know, between all the little tidal pools on the shoreline. Yeah, and as you'll see later on, like the flashlight helped out a lot with like basically freezing a lot of the water. We were trying to like kick up the water to try and see if we can freeze it. And then the light bar that I had, basically just like a basic like LED you can just get off of Amazon, really served later on towards like blue hour, as we were losing a lot of the twilight light that was remaining. Basically we were using that to basically illuminate some of the foreground and kind of catch. That actually helped to catch a lot more of the light, ironically enough. So we still got pretty good exposures during the golden hour time, since what was going on, since it's like kind of the windy season here in California. A lot of the dust and I guess salt in the surrounding area was being kicked up, so it kind of diffused the light a bit, and you can kind of see it in the videos where basically up in the sky it's basically hazy more or less. So there was a little bit of diffusion going on there during golden hour. I thought it was pretty interesting with the composition with a lot of the pictures as well too, so we kind of made it just work and stuff. Of course the wind bow was you know, it'll give and take away. So while we got some pretty cool dispersion of lights, I unfortunately lost a flash. Had to get a new flash anyways. The new one's better for like light painting stuff anyways. So, but yeah, rest in peace, flash. My light bar also fell into the light, but luckily it survived. So I guess that's endorsement to the brand of light bar that I have. So yeah, man, definitely get those light bars. And if you're gonna go out to anywhere where there's like extremely saline water, like at a Badwater Basin, yeah, maybe like go with some gear you're not afraid to lose, because it will definitely short out if it falls into that water. It's really salty, so yeah, don't do that. So for the Muay Thai shoot, we pretty much were just like messing around with a few action shots. Honestly, with Muay Thai, it's I would say a bit more of a grounded martial arts, like say compared to like Taekwondo, where you'll see a lot of like 180, 360, 540 kicks. It's a very, I guess you'd say, almost like aerobatic or acrobatic type of aspect to it. Versus in Muay Thai, it's very much grounded whenever you do your attacks. So you have your standard punches and kicks like kickboxing, but you can do, you know, elbow and knee attacks. Clinch was basically just like you're bear hugging and like kneeing a person in like the head or the chest or something like that. So, and there's not really much we could do with the location, just because the fact the salt that was on the ground was basically sharp, and you can literally feel it through your shoe too. So very much be careful. You're going to be walking around barefoot. It's super sharp out there. I even felt it through my shoes when I went out there last year. So yeah, don't fall on that. So the ground like doesn't really leave much for dynamic movements. So we were doing a lot of either knees or elbows, or kicks are also really good too. So kicks are really dynamic as well too. You can kind of play around those different poses to kind of see what kind of compositions you can get. And most of the time I was kind of just playing around with the different angles of the flash. You know, I kind of want to make sure I had an off-camera angle that was like basically angled opposite or maybe offset from the angle that we were getting from the sunlight in the rear. So that's what most of our time was spent doing, just kind of playing around with those different angles and just trying to get different looks here and there. I think the biggest thing I like about the pictures that I got from this session is that most of my martial arts photos so far are usually just in the gym that I train at. So if you're familiar with like a lot of gym settings, they won't really have like the best lighting specifically for like photography. So like, you know, it's not uncommon to walk in with like your own flashes. I sometimes use like 2 flashes a lot of times just to make sure I get the right exposure. But going out to like a location where it's like outdoors, you're outside of the gym, it's not so cramped. I think it kind of gives more of a stylistic vibe, especially with the context of like martial arts, where it's, you know, there is a bit of a gracefulness, I think, to martial arts. You know, it's not just like violence and like 2 guys just looking at it. Like there's, you know, there's an artistic vibe to it. So I like the fact that we were able to use this location and kind of give the sport of Muay Thai, or I guess the concept of Muay Thai photography, just like a really cool, stylistic, and I guess artsy look to it. And I pretty much like just shot a lot of these photos like wide open on my 85mm, just like 1.4, because hey, I paid for 1.4. But there's nothing wrong with also stopping up, especially if you want to get more like background like information into your photos and kind of like just get more storyline to your photos. So yeah, don't be afraid to stop up and like, you know, go to like a higher aperture if you want to like add more elements to your photos. But I think it kind of worked out for my photos pretty well, having the aperture wide open 1.4, because with the dust kind of suspended in the air, you kind of have more of an ethereal look to a lot of the photos. So I think it was a pretty cool design choice to, you know, basically stick to the settings that I, you know, did for this specific shoot. Now, as the light proceeded to change and shift, we ended up going to the fashion shoot. So basically it was blue hour, and you can basically see in the videos, you know, as the light fades, you know, you get different compositions. You know, it goes from like the orange of sunset golden hour to more blue. You get a little bit of pink from that's basically like the belt of Venus. So if you're looking at the sunset, next time you're looking at the sunset and you see a little band of pink looking towards, you know, like the west, that's basically like the belt of Venus. So if you haven't tried blue hour shooting yet, you should definitely try to do it. It is a bit of a misnomer, so it's a little bit of a misrepresentative of the term, because blue hour can basically last from anywhere from 20 to even going over 90 minutes, and it all depends on like the time of day, or I should say the time of year, and the location where you're at, and even air quality. So it can vary depending on all those factors, and it really does challenge you to kind of, you know, be speedy with how, you know, you're taking your photos. because you are losing light. It's well after the golden hour, so you're losing light. You no longer have the sun helping out with your photos, so you definitely want to be speed about what you're doing, kind of know what you're doing. If you're shooting with natural light, you got to move really quickly. If you're, maybe you have like continuous lighting or a strobe or something like that, that may help you out. But if you're trying to get like, you know, all the aspects of the sky, then, you know, it's definitely all about just like moving quickly and kind of having everything planned out. And hey, if you're even shooting on a full moon night or even a half moon night, you can also use the light from the moon. It's also really powerful in a lot of blue hour exposures. So yeah, definitely give it a try. So this is where the light bar setup stood out as we were entering blue hour at this point. So we were no longer afforded the ability to use the sun as a light source. The wind was still a bit of a challenge. You can see it kind of playing ever so slightly with my light bar in the B-roll right here. In conditions like this, softboxes and umbrellas are pretty much a no-go, as the gale will turn your light modifier to an airfoil or even a sail, and basically just violently confiscate your light setup up and away. So yeah, I basically just rolled with a one of these like ball diffusers, or it's actually not a diffuser. It's supposed to be like a, I think it's supposed to be like the opposite of like the diffuser, but either way, I think it helps kind of like direct the light towards the subject, and, you know, kind of avoid having the aforementioned issues of having your light modifier fly away from you. I quite like using a light bar in the situation during blue hour, and I like that it gave me more of a tonal shift as opposed to the photos I got during golden hour. Basically the light during golden hour is a bit more dreamy, like I was talking about, but during blue hour, with this light bar being the only source of illumination we had, that would actually, basically illuminate Nico with light. The way I had the light super cold as well too in terms of warmth, so it kind of meshed really well with the clothes. The way the wind was like, kind of playing around with the clothes as well too in the photo, I think it kind of helped a lot with setting up the vibe for that shot. And I do also like the fact that we also froze some water in some of these shots as well too, so I was able to kind of get those freeze frame shots that I really enjoyed. So this shot looks really great. I like the way like a lot of the shots from this photo shoot came out, and I kind of had like two different vibes for each of the photos, where one was kind of more ethereal and like golden and warmer, and then going into blue hour I had more of a colder, maybe not industrial vibe shot, but just it was just colder and more just like, I guess, like opposite of dreamy. After an extra half hour of shooting, we got enough photos and started to head back home. All in all, it was a good trip with a lot of takeaways. As of time of filming, the lake is still around, but it will be rapidly receding as we approach the tail end of spring and enter the scorching summer months. I think it's personally worth a shot to take another expedition out, just to try out more concepts, especially for like landscape astro. I think I can get a lot of really interesting photos of the Milky Way, reflecting off the water, whatever water is still left out there. So that might actually be something I'll actually try out. Death Valley is already such a great spot for astrophotography that I'm hoping to get more use out of the location before the lake inevitably goes away. And I'd say the biggest takeaway is sometimes you just gotta make do with the conditions you have, especially outdoors, whether it's wind, weather. Plan as much as you can, but sometimes you just gotta roll with what you got in the field. Maybe don't be so married to your gear. At the end of the day, gear is just a tool that we use for photography, and gear gets old and gear will get dropped or gets soaked in salt water and stop functioning. So yeah, basically you just gotta roll the fact that Murphy's Law is a thing. So if something can go wrong, it probably will go wrong. So if you are a martial arts fan, or you like MMA and boxing and combat sports, I usually take a lot of photos and just put them on my martial arts focused Instagram, Genoa Productions. I'll put a link in the comments. You guys can check it out. I also have like a more portrait related Instagram as well too. Yeah, it's kind of if you find it strange, I break them all up. I just wanted that. It just looks cleaner to have like multiple like Instagram. So a little bit of a doozy like to kind of handle all of them, but compartmentalization just kind of helps my flow out. So yeah, check them out. Let me know what you guys think about it. If you like this video, please like, comment, subscribe. Stay tuned for more. Going to be bringing more videos on more topics. And yeah, other than that, I'll catch you guys in the next one. Thank you.